Okay, here we go.
It's very restful.
All right, for circuit 2 and behavior rehearsal, we'll start with a brief, and since we get to do the brief, the behavior rehearsal, and the debrief all in one day, it should go pretty smoothly, I would think. So I'd like to start out with the rationale behind the behavior rehearsal as we did before in the first circuit. So the skill was learned during coaching on topic and demonstrated through modeling. And now behavior rehearsal is a way to practice the skills for your learning objective away from the children. And, you know, to rehearse them until you're really comfortable with all the steps and all the skills. And I want to discuss how the skills might be individualized for specific children in the group. I know we talked a little bit about Miguel the last time, as he may need a little extra assistance during the activity. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, he's just someone who I'm thinking might need the holding the hand to come over. The warnings will be really good for him. I think those will be pretty adequate, but he would probably need that extra 2 minutes, and then kind of reading where he is. If there's lots of resistance with the 2 minute, then he might need an extra kind of visual or something, such as having just leave the timer there in front of him.
Okay.
So he's seeing it, and maybe even almost done.
Right.
You know, a little bit extra, and
would you have an extra timer in
and
case you needed to
maybe
do that?
well, I would need to use the same one, because if I had another timer, it wouldn't be at the same time. They would be at different levels of having gone through. But I could leave that one there in front of him, because I don't think the other kids are going to need that.
Okay. Well, since it's part of the skill set rubric, could you maybe point out the timer to the others? Since you're using it as part of a skill, as one of the skills for all of them, but they can all see it.
Oh yeah, I mean, I could still bring it over and show them, and then just put it back in front of Miguel after everyone's had their 2 minutes.
Okay, yeah, I just want to clarify that.
And the seat mats were kind of intentional for him, so I can have him in a place where he's got probably at least one of those other boys on either side of him, so he's kind of more part of the group.
Right.
And so he won't be right next to something that he could grab.
Okay. And so I know you mentioned this before, you had a couple of really good ideas. If you had other children in the group, you know, it could happen in the future. And you mentioned one would be maybe a child in a wheelchair, how you would do that a little bit differently. And the other example was possibly a child with challenging behaviors. And you gave a good example of that. Do you remember those two examples?
Yes, with the wheelchair, that moving it to a table, so everyone's at the same level, and then a child who might have challenging behaviors using whatever strategy they're already incorporating for circle times, whether that be a chair with the sides, weighted pillow, fidget toys, you know, those kinds of things, but keeping consistent with anything that they're already doing.
Okay. Did you think of any others since then? Did any others come to mind in between?
Not with that specifically, but when I was doing the second book, I'm not sure if this fits in here, but when I was doing the second book, I thought, if I'm going to have this in the room and I kind of want to not have the pieces lost, what do I need to do? So I just made boxes around them. So when they're moving them up, or if they're moving them around, they'll always know if something's missing.
Right.
And so we can say, oh, it looks like there's one missing, so we can look around to see if we can find the missing picture.
Oh, okay, that's a nice addition.
So I just did that with those two as kind of a visual cue, and that was more about, that was more about having this one being the one that's in the room that they're
Okay.
playing with all the time, and to just aid them in not losing pieces.
Okay, and so you already got the second book made. That's awesome.
I do.
So how do you feel in this circuit with scripted story that the behavior rehearsal will help build your confidence with this particular objective?
Well, definitely with practice. As I said before, I really have found that when I'm watching you do it, I notice things that I probably wouldn't be noticing if I'm the one holding the book. So then when I'm the one holding the book, I assume I'm also going to be seeing other things from that perspective that I'm not going to notice. And it really helps iron out wrinkles. I was thinking about planning for a morning class and an afternoon class, and I always discover things in my morning class that could go better for the afternoon. So the morning class is almost a little bit like the guinea pigs. In the afternoon, things always go smoother because I realized, I need another glue bottle, or it would have been better if I had changed this order of steps, or
Right.
something. So it's giving me that kind of chance to make the mistakes and learn what might be needed to go a little bit smoother.
Okay. Yeah, and you did during the modeling, you realized quite a few things that you could tweak or switch around, two skills to switch, that made it it should make it a lot more smooth.
Mm-hmm.
And adding the mats and the extra book, a lot of strengths there just during that activity of the circuit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's just watching and saying, maybe it would be better if I had this. That might be able to solve that problem.
Right.
That seems to be coming up.
Okay, and again, I'd like to help in any way to make this successful during behavior rehearsal and then up to the live coaching. So, how about, is there anything about this strategy of the scripted story that you need any other individualized additions, modifications for you to meet your learning style?
Not that I know of now. I might learn one when I'm trying it, but
Okay.
but no, I don't think so right now.
And as usual, we want to do that while still maintaining the fidelity to the evidence-based practice
Mm-hmm.
that we're using. All right, and so let's see. And again, I'll use the skill set rubric to score during the practice, as well as anything else you need me to do during behavior rehearsal. And then if we find any adjustments that need to be made, we can go ahead and make those adjustments. And we can do it without distractions because we're going to be outside the classroom, and we can talk about how you want to plan that
Mm-hmm.
here in a second. So do you have any questions or any reservations at this point before we start planning it? Knowing that we're going to be planning it.
So yeah.
Okay.
I'm there. Yeah.
All right, so again, I just want to help to make this successful for you. So let's go ahead and make a few plans. I'm going to jot down notes on our agenda as we go. All right, so what do you have in mind for the rehearsing the skill with me? How do you see it play out?
Okay, so I was originally planning on thinking about doing it with kids, and then you were reminding me the behavioral rehearsals outside of the room, and so thinking about do I try to rehearse it with kids? Do I try to rehearse it with adults? And I just think it might be so awkward for kids to be in a different situation, and like the whole dynamic of it just seems like it would be so different to have kids in the room all by themselves without the other distractions of the room, and having them separate and everything. That feels a little too odd for me, both from my perspective and maybe from the kids' perspective.
Okay.
So I definitely think with adults, and I'd like to try to hunt down.
Hunt them down.
Hunt them down. If you could be one of the kids.
Okay.
Pretend to be one of the kids. I know Mary's open to being one of the kids, and if I could hunt down one more adult that might be available, I'd like to be able to do that for this rehearsal part. I hear Evelyn here, so she might be able to do that for me.
All right.
But so I would like one more adult to kind of take on that role, because in here we have kind of 4 kids identified, and I'd like to get as close to that group size as possible. So that's why I'd like to have at least 3 now, to be as close to that group size as possible.
Okay. Make it most realistic.
Yeah, since I know I'll have about 3 to 4, and
Is there anything else you want us to do to make it a little bit more realistic in terms of materials, or would you like us to be actually playing with some toys or materials, or just kind of pretend like we are?
You know, the thing that I'm thinking is kind of awkward about this is the 5-minute warning, and then the 2-minute warning where really we're just going to be like sitting around for 3 minutes. Now what? So you know more about the awkwardness of that. So I'm thinking maybe what I'll do is just pretend to have a timer and not really span down the whole 5 minutes, but practice giving the 5-minute to each, and practice giving the 2-minute to each, not necessarily waiting for 3 minutes.
Okay, would it help if one of us said, okay, 2 minutes has passed, just kind of speed it up, just pretend like.
Yes.
Or if you wanted to say that, which would be more realistic or would help you in practicing it?
I think I would like to do that.
Okay.
I was trying to think of that, and I was thinking, I'm going to need to remember to have my awareness about watching that timer to know when I'm going to need to get up and start getting that 2 minutes left.
And you could actually say it like it's real time.
Mm-hmm.
And even though 2 minutes didn't really pass, or 5 minutes really didn't pass, you could say it like
Mm-hmm.
it did, as if you're talking to children. Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And let's see.
I think I would like to do a quick debrief with the adults to kind of explain what I'm doing and what my objective is. I know, and this is kind of part of my leeriness about this, is like, how do you make it realistic as possible with, I've been in lots of trainings and things like that, and there are people who think it's really fun to be the obstinate child. No, I don't want to.
Right.
I'm like, well, if someone's just enjoying doing that, that's not really going to be realistic for me, and it's not really going to be helpful for me.
So yeah, that is a good reason to
it's kind of
prepare
like,
the adults.
Yeah, and this is what I'm doing it for. This is what I'm hoping to get out of this. And so, if you're thinking about a specific child that's not like immediate jump up and go right over there, but I don't want the RTI behavior plan child as part of this group, because that's a whole nother skill set that I would need to be practicing in that kind of instance. And what I really want to practice now is going through the story. It's not about does Rachel know how to get an obstinate child to
Right.
story?
Yeah, and that's very reasonable.
So,
and
just
those are
kind
things
of
you can always talk about. You can
about-
always talk about, well, what if, just like I asked about the challenging behavior child. So those are things that you can always discuss about it and have a plan and know what you would do.
Well, and I'm thinking if I did have somebody who was really adversely reacting or something, I would probably just let it go at that point and say, okay, maybe later, because my goal with this is to do the scripted story. It's not to work on a behavior plan with a specific child. And so I don't think I would react necessarily the same as I would in a classroom or something, because my goal is very different. Right now my goal is to do this scripted story with some children, and so
exactly.
I might let other things go at that point.
Okay.
Even though I wouldn't naturally in a classroom, or I might ask somebody else to help or stand in or something like that, but because of the specificity of this skill and what I'm working on,
Okay.
I do not see myself doing it.
Okay, so we know who's going to be involved. Well, one other teacher that we'll come up with. And we know what we want to explain to them, to prepare them. Is there anything else that I can do to support your learning style through this? If I'm going to be a child in the practice, do you want me to stop and say something as we go to give feedback, or wait till the end? Or?
Wait till the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I always think this is interesting too, about how do you think the children are going to react during your practice with them in life coaching?
I think that
What are some things you think you can expect from the children?
I think I can expect kind of a higher level of excitement than I normally get from the kids, which is going to equal maybe a little less focus. Because while the kids do know me and have somewhat of a relationship with me, it's as Miss Rachel, the preschool teacher, and I'm going to be in their room, and it's going to feel very different for them, and it's going to be kind of like the firefighter coming or something, where their excitement kind of overrides some of the skills they've learned, and sitting down on your mat, and I'm anticipating like reaching out and grabbing for the Velcro pieces on the book, maybe trying to come over and sit in my lap instead of stay on the mats, those kinds of things that I don't think they normally would do, but I think it's going to be a little bit out of the norm for them, and so I'm anticipating some of that.
You feel comfortable with what you would be doing as the reaction? Or?
I do, because I think that because they do still know me pretty well, and some of them know me from preschool and some of them just know me being out there, I think I can just give a firm reminder and they're going to be like, oh, okay. That's right.
So they'll understand what the behavior expectations
I do.
are, because they know what
They do
are.
know what they are, and when they are reminded that, oh, she knows what they are too, that it will be within kind of the normal range. I do also anticipate that there will be a very large group, that there'll be lots of other kids who are going to want to kind of come and join in. And that's actually really good to think about, because I'm glad I just thought of that. Because if the whole class is over, then I would want to ask the other teacher in the room to come and support, because I can definitely see kids in the back, I can't see, stop it, and it just turning into the group time management instead of reading a story, again, because of kind of the newness of the situation and those kinds of things.
Do you have any reservations about that? Or?
Yes and no. I think with the other teacher there, it'll be okay.
Mhm.
I think the alternative of, oh, I'm just gonna do it with these guys and you can come later, I think I'm less comfortable with that, without a feeling of just kind of total inclusion.
Mhm.
So I think I'd just rather have another teacher come over and just say, you know, can you just
What they would normally
kind of
do,
help in
right?
the back, yeah,
Mhm. Okay.
yeah.
All right, so since I'll be using the skill set rubric for this as well, but what's nice is we're going to have it videotaped, and so we can score
Just
together.
for afterwards would be awesome, yeah.
So if you don't have any other questions or concerns, we'll go ahead and do a little planning with the teachers who are going to be children. Okay, so I'm going to turn the camera off,
All right.
and then we'll turn it back on when they're here.